we have to create the right vibe, you know, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome back to a new episode of a Purely Arsenal podcast. It was supposed to be the A-team here, but they're dropping out like flies. Neil's 60th birthday. Mike's got kids running around biting his ankles. So it's just myself and James Johnstone here. How you doing, James, mate?
I'm very well. It's good to be back. Obviously, would have liked to have the whole, like you said, the A-team here. But, yeah, happy birthday to Neil. He's probably going to watch it back, so happy birthday.
Happy 60th, mate.
And I hope Michael has managed to salvage that living room by the video he sent.
He's got kids running carnage, he said. So
bless him.
We're sitting here 2 days before the European Championship final, and who'd have thought that England would be in it, right? 55 years, is it, since we made a big national tournament like this. Country's going crazy. James, you're over there. Obviously, I'm far, far away, but watching it happily from afar. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But really, we're obviously to talk about Arsenal. Our last podcast was way back after the 2-1 home win against Tottenham, you told me, right?
Yeah.
Where I think we're probably sitting around where we ended up in the league, 8th, 9th, and obviously then, you know, but we still had the hopes of Europe, right, and Champions League through the Europa League, but that came crashing down with a whimper. So we're going to try and avoid talking about all of that and focused on what we like to focus on at the moment when your team's finished 8th twice in 2 seasons, which is the transfer window. So what we're going to do...
There's not much else.
Yeah, there's not. I was like, should we evaluate the season? I was like, let's not depress ourselves. Let's move straight on to what we hope can be a sign of change and a revolution, if you like, in terms of the transfer window. We say every transfer window is massive. They get bigger because the team's getting worse. As the team gets worse, the transfer window gets bigger every window. But it is really big. And when you evaluate it like we're going to do, honestly, your stress levels and anxiety levels go up because you just cannot believe how much we've got to do. We're sitting here on July 9th. Pre-season has already begun. Our first game is 4 or 5 days away. And I know the Euros is going on, but I think it is quite concerning how little activity has actually happened. There are tons of rumours, but how little activity has actually happened yet. So we're going to go on and we're going to evaluate the transfer window, what we want to do in it, what we think could happen in it, things like that. And we're going to have a look at it from there. So James, looking at the transfers, Mikel Arteta, obviously massive season for him, massive season window for Edu. If you were to look at this window, knowing we're only in 3 domestic competitions, what should be the overall strategy going into the transfer window for Arsenal Football Club?
Okay, so for me, overall, I think you got to look at 3 key attributes. So those 3 for me, first and foremost, is technical ability. I don't think other than Pepe, Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, Partey to an extent, mainly the midfield for me is the main area. We have no player of technical ability, like top tier, what I class as technical ability. You know, like we were talking about earlier, a Santi Cazorla-esque. Even if they were just 1-footed instead of 2-footed, like Santi, you know, Santi was blessed. He was 2-footed.
Yeah, but even if you're in Cesc or Nasri,
there is no one. There is no one like that at the club. And I think you need that. You need that massively. The second key attribute for me is character. Now, in November, you might have got it where you are. I don't know, because I know some of the things feed into YouTube and everything else. Alex Scott, after Arsenal lost to Aston Villa, done a brilliant interview on BBC with Arteta. And she sat with him and said, you know, how far away do you think this Arsenal team are? And he said, I'm a long, long way away from what I want it to be. Now, since then, there's been other interviews where he's gone, I'm a bit closer because I've got rid of, what I deem to be bad characters. Characters that for some reason, even though he knew they were going, he made them captain in Europa League games. Now, they were games that were throwaway, Dundalk and whatever, when Mustafi was the captain. Still baffled me. I'm like, this is a guy you can't stand. You say he's a terrible influencer, but he gets given an armband. But
yeah, we're getting mixed signals, Mikel.
Exactly. So character, I think, is a big thing. And he talks about as well that with the fans coming back, obviously they're going to respond, and they haven't had the response. They've had smaller crowds per se, but he wants the players that buy into what he wants, have what he classes as the good character, and then the fans respond to that, and that creates a further energy which pushes it to where he really wants it to be. So I think that's a big thing. And then age for me is a big thing as well. I think experience, yes, but I'm talking at least under 30 now. I think we've gone for some players that are over 30, and they've all been short-term type of signings, thinking that it's going to get you to where you need to be, and it's not worked. And
Williams, yeah.
Yeah, and you've outlaid a lot of money on that. You've outlaid a ton of money, and most of them are deemed surplus, and most of them didn't get to where you wanted us to get. So that's my three big areas.
Love the first one, because it doesn't get spoken about enough how much our technical quality has dropped, even since the latter Wenger years, to be honest. Where the team was clearly sort of deteriorating still. We still had those technically, gifted players. You can even put, it's a very bad example, but the likes of Mkhitaryan, people that were much more comfortable on the ball than what we have now. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously you're losing one of your more technical players in maybe not more sort of gifted, but Danny Tavares has gone, who was a bit more technically gifted but slow. Xhaka to a certain degree. So even more now, it needs to be replaced. And I'm thinking maybe one player. Obviously, Odegaard was top of our list, but maybe one player is not enough, and maybe we need to get one more in. And maybe that's a sign of what he's doing in the centre back position as well, which we're going to get to. So we're going to go through. I think you're spot on there. I think even the age profile, if we're to believe the rumours, a lot of it's 21 to 25, 26, isn't it? So it might even be lower for a lot of that. And I think the left backup is a sign of us sort of trying to rejuvenate and go younger with the squad. So I agree with all of that. Starting with goalkeepers. So where we're at on July 9th is obviously our goalkeepers are currently Leno, Okonkwo, who just signed a new deal, Arthur Okonkwo, who's very highly regarded, come through the Arsenal Academy, 19, I think he is, 6'5", very, but largely really highly regarded, even from the Wenger years, wasn't he? And Runnison, but there's strong links that Runnison will be leaving. And I think even if he doesn't leave, I don't think he's going to be in the top three goalkeepers. I think that Okonkwo is pretty much that contract decision has decided that. So James, what I want to know, the rumour mill has kind of been going again, and I don't like to go too much in depth into is this a true rumour, is it not? Because let's face it, even the tier one sources, as we were talking off air, we're finding more and more now is that people know less and less about what's happening in Arsenal, I think, in the last couple of years. So Partey example is a perfect one when, 24 hours before almost no one said it was possible. What I want to know, obviously some of the rumours though are Onana from Ajax, Ramsdale from Sheffield United, Johnston from West Brom. We're talking a bit of the homegrown stuff there too. What would you do in the goalkeeper position? Bearing in mind our number one goalkeeper also has 2 years left on his contract, and I don't think there's any signs that, one, we're offering him a new one, or two, that he would be willing to sign a new one.
Yeah, so I can't go back on what I've said for the majority of the season, which is I'm not a big Leno fan. For me, I would be looking to sell the guy, which is very difficult considering in terms of number ones that are available to buy, very, very difficult. Renarsson, for me, shouldn't have been bought in the first place. I think, again, that goes back to the inexperience in that he was recommended by a goalkeeping coach. He trusted the goalkeeping coach, and that's been proven wrong. And that's another write-off that we're going to have to look at. Out of the ones that have been linked, Johnstone for me is the best of the bunch in terms of the backup, because I wouldn't see Johnstone coming in as first choice for us. I also like the look of this Woodman. I think he fits the profile, and I think he wasn't that expensive. Ramsdale, if you're going to throw the rumoured 25 to 35 million that Sheffield United want, then he has to be the first choice. We're not in a position, I think, that financially we can spend 35. If we are, then that's a complete change of ethos from this board, or that's Jeff Bezos's money, which we'll touch on later, coming through, and they're going, we can afford 35. And also, Ramsdale for me isn't the guy. He doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence. I know that he's young and he can develop, and goalkeepers tend to get better and develop, but we got one that's 26 that's terrible. So, I don't think, I don't feel it with Ramsdale. Onana, like you said, such a difficult thing because of the ban and everything else. And then you mentioned as well about the African Cup of Nations and everything else. If it's a deal that we can possibly do, I think you have to do it, because he has all the attributes and, again, the profile, like we've said, that fits the system that we want to play. And also with the David Luiz and Xhaka going, we lose that long passer, and Onana has that in his locker. We've seen goals where Ederson for City has booted it, and it's dropped and landed at an Aguero or a Sterling
doesn't
or
have
whoever.
that distribution.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, yeah, all right, it's not the most attractive thing, but if you can just route one, like in American football, Hail Mary catch.
It's an option though, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got it in a locker,
yeah,
you take it, So that for me, I think that's too good of a deal to pass if it can be done. And Okonkwo, I've heard really good things, and I look forward to seeing him play, because I think he's going to be the guy who starts at least against Hibs and possibly Rangers as well. I don't think I think there's people that have been at the Euros aren't going to start, and I can't see why Renarsson, who has come back from he went to sort of deal out to go to someone in Turkey. He's now come back. I'm like, would he have to? I don't know. I haven't seen the pictures of him in training. Did he have to isolate when he come back from Turkey? I don't know how it works.
He was in the. He was definitely within training. I saw him in pictures. I didn't see him on the pitch, but I saw him doing the sort of stuff in the gym and stuff.
Right.
So your ideal, just to kind of see where you're at, is you would, like me, would try to replace Leno. And do you think the best way of doing that, because we're not really hearing rumours, we certainly heard rumours about Leno he went back on it a little bit, but I think he went back on it probably because he maybe knew it was going to be harder to leave Arsenal than he thought, especially when he's on 120 grand a week and got biscuit hands. So I just wonder, I personally, what I'd love to see the club do, because I think the one thing I'd add to your key to this transfer window, in that, because our games, we've got a 38 game season plus the cups, 38 game season, right, which we've never had, or not in our supporting lifetime since we were kids, right? I would love to, what I really, really want to see is players that improve the first 11. That's what has to happen, right? No more of this depth. We've got so many players on the books anyway. We've got to get rid of them. Can't get them out the door enough. It's like a flipping revolving, just get out. Do you know what I mean? So we've got to improve first 11 players, right? And I think at goalkeeper level, I think some people would say wait on it, but I think the only way to really force that is to buy a number one, and it forces Leno's hand. The Onana one becomes more complicated because of his ban from positive drug tests. He can't train till September, can't come back till November. He play for a month and a half and then go to the African Cup of Nations. So in theory, if you're buying Onana, you're buying another goalkeeper that's ready to come in as well.
Exactly.
Because you're forcing... If you buy Onana, you're forcing Leno's hand. You're forcing his hand because you buy Onana. He's a number 1 goalkeeper in the Champions League. There's no way he's coming in on a drugs ban to be a number 2. He's coming because you've said to him, you're the number 1, mate. As soon as you're ready, you're in. Right? What does Leno do? What's he going to do then? He's going to either say one or two things. He's either going to go, well, I'll just sit on my contract and sign really big in 2 years. But coming up to the age of 30 with a World Cup 18 months away, he's not going to do that. He's going to say on his phone to his agent, and he's going to go, get me out of this club now. I don't want to be on the bench for a club that finished 8th last season. That's what he's going to say, isn't he? He's going to say, I would love, because it's not a huge outlay, it's 7 million, 8 million, for a number 1 goalkeeper, and his wage is 30 grand a week from what I read. You could triple that and be under Leno's. I would love us to go, I'm going to throw it at him and I'm going to wait and see what happens. But the issue there is you've got to do it early because you've got to let this play out. And I'm thinking, I'm sure things are much more complicated than I'm saying, but I, like you, would love to replace number 1. That would mean also having to bring a number 2 in. And I, like you as well, love the idea of a Woodman. I know he had an issue in the playoffs with Swansea, was it, where he kind of made a clanger, but overall he looks pretty good, and obviously he's owned by Newcastle, and we all know there's a plan that they're quite interested in over at Newcastle, and they don't have a lot of money, so it would make it make a little bit of sense. And my choice, a bit like you, I'm just checking that you're saying, I would love to see 2 new goalkeepers come in, to be honest, unless a Okonkwo was somehow our number 2.
Well, this is it, is that I think that they're not going to. I think they're not going to do it. So I think Okonkwo is going to be thrusted in. However, it's one of them where goalkeeper's a very, very tough position, but Saka was thrown in very, same age, 19, well 18 even, he was younger. So it's one of them. He could turn out to be absolutely incredible. He could be better than Leno. We just don't know. I don't know enough about him.
No, me neither. What would be lovely is in those pre-season games, if he shows up a little bit, and maybe, just maybe, in the back of their heads they go, well, maybe he could be a number 2, and maybe we can just focus on the number 1. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because I wonder. I mean, at the moment he's basically a Matt Macy replacement, isn't he? Ish.
I think
Matt
so.
Macy was like a third before Runnison came in. So, and I wonder, Okonkwo must be looking at it, going, what have they sold to him for him to sign that contract? They must have said, here's your progression into the first team. You're going to let me look at you in pre-season, must have been a thing, right? And maybe they're going to loan him out.
I think he's probably been told, maybe not FA Cup, but I think League Cup. I think they've gone, you will play at least League Cup games, and barring any injury, you are the number 2. I think that announcement that he signed indicates that he's the number 2.
But Edu says number 3.
Well, then,
it's weird, but we don't know. I agree, though. I think it's a little bit odd. There's a lot to happen at the goalkeeper level. That's what we want to happen. Well, number 1 and number 2. Realistically, that's not going to happen. So I presume you think we're probably going to get in a number 2. Yeah. But like you said, it's a damning indictment of the club if they spend heavily on a number 2 when they sold a number 2, who in our eyes was a number 1, for less than what we're reportedly going to spend on a number 2, and when we know the number 2 that we sold was better than all these goalkeepers we've just discussed, basically. So it is a real damning indictment. I mean, you literally have to be a moron to do that, because you just said, right, you didn't, basically we said when we sold Emi Martinez, we said, oh sure, people were going on about, but we said, Leno's our number 1, and we're going to buy a backup number 2, which is what we did with Matt Ryan on loan. We said we're just going to have a guy that's clearly the number 2. Now you're saying you want to compete for those positions again. Well, that's exactly what we had. You've moved away from that. You can't. So correcting your mistake is one thing, but that spending big on that area is absolutely ludicrous, right? But at the same time, spend too small and you get Runnison. So I see kind of the dilemma. So that's what we want at the goalkeeper. Let's see. We want a whole new goalkeeping unit. Well, I think this is going to be a pattern as we talk on with the team, because we're not biggest fan of a lot of these players currently in pre-season. A lot of the players that I just don't like are back, I've noticed. So I'm like, oh yeah, he's leaving. Let's discuss centre backs now. I don't want to go too, because we discussed so much offline William Saliba. Obviously that was a massive mistake in terms of the fee. 28 million for an 18-year-old centre back at the time. Is he worth it? Is he not? Well, to be honest, We don't know. We don't get a chance to see him. But that proves, from the club's perspective, and Arteta and Edu have to take some responsibility here, that was a mistake. I know Arteta wasn't there when the signing happened, but you've got a 28 million centre-back. It's your job to at least, give that player a chance. Unless, for example, we have, Liverpool-like centre-backs that don't concede, and then, you don't have the opportunity to give them a chance. But we don't. We have people that make mistakes week in, week out. So that was the weird thing. So, but the one good thing about the club is they're not letting it drag like it did halfway through last season. At least they're dealing with it early. Last I read, imminently he is going to Marseille without an option to buy. What's your thoughts? Obviously, what's your thoughts on where the responsibility lies for his situation? And what's your thoughts on there ever being a possibility for William Saliba to have a career at Arsenal, especially with this current management setup?
So this is extremely tough for me. Really, really tough. I can only really speculate on what I think's the problem. And I feel this manager may or may not like the player. I think he doesn't like how he's conducted himself in the past. He had a few things even last year on social media that were a bit, what's the word I'm trying to look for, a bit close to home, I'd say, in terms of, I'm not directly slagging you off, but I'm sort of there. Like, I'm near enough digging you out, but not to the extent where I'm fully digging you out. The outlay on the fee and the potential of the player, for me, is too strong to completely write off. However, like I said, those three key attributes that I feel are for me, I feel character in terms of Arteta is in his top three as well. And I think once he don't like you, you can't win him back. Yeah. Which, we wanted more cutthroat people, because we said, there were times where
he's consistent with it. He's consistent with it. Just carry on.
Yeah, I think he could be done. And that is tough. But we'll have to see. I really, really don't know. But even if he wasn't being loaned out, I know people were like, "Oh, him and Gabriel to start." I never saw that happening. Even if if he don't go on loan now, there is no way that he starts week in, week out.
And I don't think, James,
no way.
I don't think that's the. I think people get on me on Twitter about just having an Arteta agenda or something, but it's not really that. It's when you've seen that. I don't think we're even asking for him to start. What we're asking is, let's have a look at him. I mean, let's have a look at him. And people say, well, he sees him every day in training. If he knows, he knows. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we can't really trust in that, because he trusted in Eddie Nketiah to come back. He trusted in Willian to be better than Pepe. He trusted Martinez was worse than Leno. There's a lot of examples of just seeing it in training from this. It is not necessarily enough, right? So that's where our frustration comes in, is that we don't fully trust the process. So we question it when we're not seeing a 28 million outlay and our defenders aren't good enough.
Like you say as well, from everything that I've been told by people that have seen it themselves, from when the club do the open days and everything else, and from just the coaching staff and everything, Granit Xhaka, they've said, is the most focused and the most intense in the training. Yet sometimes in games, that guy drifts away, falls asleep, set pieces. He starts yelling, going, "That's your man," and everything. Well, it's your man, mate. Actually, it's not. Yeah. So, like you said, what you do in training and what you do on the day, two different things. And that happens in every walk of life. The job that I'm at now, there are days where I get in there and I walk in. And I'm like, I've had me headphones on whilst I've been on the bus or whatever. And I'm like, I'm smashing this today. Then I sit there and go, oh, no, I don't fancy it now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's the attitude and the application.
Yeah, it is. You're right. But I think, you don't know with the manager, right? The manager could change. I'm not being pessimistic here, but, for me, Arteta is very, very lucky to still be in this job at the moment. Some people say I judge him from next season. From my perspective, I think, he's a little bit on borrowed time already, to be honest. He's judged from the first game of next season, because at any other club, I don't think he would still be here, to be honest. Any other club of outside.
Honeymoon's over, mate. Honeymoon is over.
Absolutely, right?
It's
absolutely.
And
that's not supporting him. That's just fact. No. Right? People say that to me. They go, why don't you support the manager? I'm like, I'm not. If he turns it around, I'll be absolutely... after the FA Cup final, I didn't want anyone to manage our club other than Arteta. I said, I believe in this guy. I think he could do it. Then he lost me throughout a 12-month full season, right? And that's fine. That's fine. That's just realism, right?
Yeah, but you know how it is on Twitter. You're not allowed to change your mind, mate. You're not allowed to change
your mind. You're also not allowed to criticise anyone that's employed by the club. This was, I was calling out Guendouzi and Ozil 18 months 12, 18 months ago. But people, as soon as they realise they're not going to be at the club anymore, then they bash them. But I'm like, well, no, I'm going to bash them while they're there, because I can see they're not good enough. Do you know what I
mean? I liked Guendouzi, man. I know I got slated for it. I liked him.
Yeah, he had a bit of character about him, but I think he's literally annoyed everybody bar Unai Emery, which is a bit odd, which is a bit strange. So I think he just won too many. But also,
he's a Balotelli, mate. You know that they're under all that, there is something there, but it's like, how to get that out of you.
And unfortunately, there's less and less of those making it. Have you noticed? 10, 15 years ago, those players, they got away with it more. Mm-hmm. But now, certainly we've got a stickler and a bit of an egocentric dictator for a manager who is, bar the Willian Dubai thing, is pretty clear cut, whether it's your captain or not. He's like, you do not. And you were going to lose me, and I'll never come back with you. And I can't knock him for that. At least he's I cannot knock him for being consistent there with that. The Willian one froze me a little bit, but eventually he did just pitter him out. And it eventually took a while, but he did pitter him out. We're loaning Saliba. That's happening. So let's draw a line under it. We're signing a centre back. Now you said. And I think I laughed at you. I said, you said we're definitely signing a centre-back, Jack, this window. This was this was months ago. And I said, yeah, James, if we do that, then we've got some explaining to do. Now, I've come to terms with the fact that we're signing a centre-back, because we've dealt with the Saliba situation at least.
Every summer window we're signing a centre-back.
I'm not sure. Maybe exactly.
It just seems like it's a go-to thing.
Under Arteta, that's top of the list every window, just to sort of calm the nerves. But I think... I don't know if any of us expected us to make this big an outlay on a centre-back 3-4 months ago.
I agree.
Okay, because it sounds like, we don't know what we're going to spend elsewhere, but it sounds like it's going to be one of our biggest, if not our biggest signing of the window. The most strong rumours, which are very strong now, I think Neil wouldn't want to discuss it, but I think we will, is Ben White. I didn't know a lot about Ben White until the rumours came about a month or so ago. The other rumour is the lad from Leverkusen, whose name I completely looked up, Sober, who's a similar fee. I'm being told maybe a little bit less, but similar fee. Who
I like beef Sober from Wagamama's. So if he's anything as good as that, then I'll be impressed.
I love a quick Wagamama's. It's not bad, it's good stuff. But thoughts on him. Thoughts on the price. My biggest concern here is not the Ben White issue. The more I watch him and hear about him, the more I like him. And I can see Arteta's looking for, in a lot of positions, a player that's proven in the league. And specifically for centre-backs, a player that's a little bit more experienced in this league. And very, very good on the ball, because he kind of wants to replace that Luis gap that we've lost, obviously. My biggest concern here is the price, and I get a lot of, it's not your money, what do you care about it? That is not a good argument when it comes to Arsenal Football Club. History tells us, actually, one, it is our money, because we pay the biggest price in Europe, but two, if we're going to spend this here, we're probably going to cut ourselves short somewhere else, and that's proven in history. Maybe something changes. What's your thoughts on that?
So again, do I think it's the smartest move to spend our biggest outlay of the summer on a centre half? No. Honestly, no. However, I rate the player. I think the player would make a big difference to us. I'm actually one of the few that like Rob Holding. I know he divides a lot of opinion, but I think in terms of how he was getting on the ball, he was gradually improving. And if you look at the stats, his numbers went up compared to how they were before in terms of actually playing out from the back and being more progressive. Mari as well, I quite like. I know some people were like, still haven't really seen enough of him, or he's a bit too slow for me and everything. I think he's good to have in there from a point of view of he's vocal. And I think he's a good sort of leader type. And I think with Louise going, we spoke off air, and Xhaka potentially going as well, you lose that. And I think he's a good communicator and a good leader.
What kind of communication do we know about Ben White? Because my concern is Gabriel is quite a quiet guy. Obviously, he's coming in new, still learning the language. But reminds me a bit of Koscielny early doors.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And it makes similar errors to Koscielny, though shows tons of potential. So Ben White, what do we know about his abilities? Because the theory is here it's going to be a Ben White Gabriel when everything evens out and people are back from the Olympics.
He's injured, isn't he? He's not going, isn't he? He's done his knee.
Of course, sorry, Gabriel. So there's a chance he could be back.
Could be a chance. Yeah, it could be a chance he's back. Yeah, which again for me, I think starting the season, Mari and Ben White ain't too bad for me.
Ben White might not start the season either.
No, because he's break. He could be. Yeah, it could be because he's had a break.
So like holding Mari, maybe.
Mari, that don't bother me. Mari and holding doesn't bother me. If we know we got the quality coming back, it doesn't bother me. I mean,
it was one of our better partnerships last season.
Yeah, and I think as well, Ben White before. I think he played every game for Leeds in the loan season, and then was it something like he played every game for Brighton last year? Or
yeah, he played like bar one or something.
Yeah, and the season just gone. Sorry to whittle on here. Mikel Arteta used 7 different players in various combinations at centre back.
Can't be doing it.
Well, the main thing for us, and we've said it, and Neil is the biggest proponent of it. Neil was saying it nearly every single podcast was, I want a defined partnership. I hate that. I'm like, you have to have the same two that are consistent and they know each other and they know what they're doing. And then we play all the way through because of the advantage. And like you said a minute ago, there's less fatigue now. So that, really, other than if, we have an outbreak, because that's, it is still a thing. I know some people are thinking, the 19th's coming up, it won't exist anymore. It still exists.
It's still outbreaks going on,
yeah. It's still going to exist. And in case we get proper injury stricken, there's less fatigue.
Yeah.
There is less fatigue there now.
Yeah, no excuses there.
And we talked about, especially the manager, hating the Thursday, Sunday. Most of the Thursday, Sunday, that's eradicated now.
Yeah.
So Saturday's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, you got a whole week to prep.
Yep, it's the consistency.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think in terms of centre back, whoever, Ben White and Gabriel works for me. I like it. I think.
Yeah, I'm fine with it as well. And obviously, it's good that he saw that we needed. I mean, the presumption was Saliba might be that player and be ready. Obviously, he doesn't believe that. That's fine. Obviously, I'm more concerned with the deal and more concerned, obviously, with the price outlay for the player that's coming in. But if it's the player that you want and we can still satisfy all other areas that were clearly of need, in my eyes, before centre-back, so I'm talking your centre-mid, your 10, your right-back, your back-up, left-back, and maybe your goalkeeper, then okay. My concern is we go for cut price deals in one or two of those.
I think if we're being honest, and we're probably going to touch on it later, you've got 2 of them sorted in a way. Not fully, but you've got 2 of those positions sorted. So it's the 3 that me and you are going to talk about in a minute that I think need big addressing.
So one position that's sorted is, I mean, it's not officially announced, but we are ITK, so we're in the know. But Nuno Tavares is isolating. It's been widely reported he's isolating I think he was even at London Colney today. Yeah. So done with his isolation period. So expecting that to be announced probably within the next 3 or 4 days. What is your thoughts? I'm going to try and put the the non-footballing stuff aside, for now, with because I mean, obviously it's a bit disturbing, but if we can avoid that, let's talk about him as sort of a profile, age, experience. I know you have reported on Nuno Tavares before and had concerns about him as a left back and in terms of experience. I spoke to a couple of Benfica fans that I know about. They were actually very positive on Nuno Tavares. They were like, yeah, really good, young, up and coming player. What I do like about him, just from watching him in clips and reading about him a bit, is one, he's young, athletic, very athletic. He reminds me more of a Wenger-like backup left-back signing. Armand Traore, Gal Clichy. I know some of those didn't work out, but Gal Clichy did, but Armand Traore was terrible. But I liked the fact that what Wenger did was basically go, well, Ashley Cole's my best left-back, clearly. A bit like Kieran Tierney. But he went, what I need to do is I need to replace his attacking output in terms of his athleticism, his running, his agility, his ability to go out and back, and not replace him with someone like Kolasinac, who clearly can only go one way, or someone that is far more defensive, like a Cedric example, if you like, that doesn't get up and back much on the left side. So I like the profile, but you have some concerns just specifically about the individual.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen him properly play apart from when he come on as a sub and Saka rinsed him to cross the ball in for Aubameyang.
Saka rinses everyone, though.
Well, there's that, but also, for the last couple of years, I've seen Arsenal fullback stand off, cross comes in, goal goes in. So if he's already got that in his locker, I'm not going to be disappointed when it happens. I know that that's an attribute he has, so I'll accept it because I'll go, well, I've seen him do it anyway. Like you've said, won't judge him on outside of the football stuff because it is unfair in a way.
On the dogs, mainly.
Well, it's not just that the slagging off of his teammates ain't the best.
It's going to be interesting,
There's times where I'm like, do you know you're on record or on camera saying this about your teammates?
He's done a lot of that, has he?
Oh, yeah.
So it's beyond. I've not seen that. I only saw the dog stuff, which I had to click off away from.
I'm like, do you know this is? Do you know you're on? You're live, mate.
Oh wow.
So, you've got to judge him on what he does for Arsenal. That's the thing. He's got my full backing until he gives me a reason not to trust him. And another thing I will say here just before is last season we were purely left side dominant, and that run Tierney and Saka towards the end into the ground. They were shattered by the end of that season. So him helping relieve Tierney more, because we know Tierney's had problems in the past. He's freely admitted he got told to have injections that he didn't really want to have, but they were like, look, mate, you're doing it because you're playing. Can't not have you play. You're too important. So I think again, it's a good move in terms of the age, in terms of, like you've said, you watch the clips, he's clearly athletic. He's clearly got a bit of pace and a bit of something about him, so it fits the bill for me. It does the job. I don't know. Do you have the fee?
8 million-ish with 2 million add-ons, so 10. I think it was euros. So I think personally, because I was initially judging the window on we're going to do our most necessary stuff first, but I don't think you can judge it like that. I don't think the left backup position was a huge concern to Arteta. If it was, he would have done it in January. Let's be honest, because he basically went for another goalkeeper in January instead of it, didn't he? And he would have done some sort of short-term option in January, wouldn't he? So I think he's looked at this and said, I want to spend as little as possible here, but I'm not going to get an experienced guy in because I don't have those European games to give the experienced guy, because an experienced guy like Bertrand or someone comes in and he wants to play. Yeah. But with this guy, the hope is, if Tierney stays fit, which is a big if, but the hope is he's not really going to be used that much. Now, he may still be used, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, but really from the start, he won't be used that much, and hopefully Tierney can stay fit, which is always been our biggest concern. So I'm okay, like you, I'm okay with it. A little bit concerns, with some stuff, but in terms of the way he looks, profile, his speed, his agility, I think he ticks a lot of boxes that some of our other options that we've signed there in the past, in the more recent past, haven't. And I think when you look at Arteta, it cost us massively when we lost him, didn't it? Because we went back to Xhaka at left back, and in those 2 legs against Villarreal, it cost us massively.
It's a weird one because you're saying there about potential of lack of minutes. We somewhat have these 2 systems, especially when we play these bigger sides, where we revert to the 5. So it could well be that he puts the Tierney at centre back again, and Tavares gets in that way. But I think when you touch on the right backs, someone who I think holds value and could be sold probably will be kept, and he'll be a left wing back or a right wing back going forward. I think he's going to get given another chance, but I know you'll touch on that in a minute.
I presume you're talking about Niles.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go right back, which I think I missed off the list. I mean, I don't know how I missed that. That's a hugely important position.
Yeah.
Now, some people are not in the know, but some people are saying, they see the centre back outlay and they see the amount we've got to do in this window and time ticking away, and they're thinking, we haven't got enough time to do everything. Something's going to give here, and they look at the right back position, and we've got 4 right backs basically on the books, if you want to include Niles in that, and Cedric and Chambers and Bellerin. And in theory, James, I would say we probably have to get rid of 2 of those in order to buy one. I would say, especially with the amount of games we've got this season and where we're trying to strengthen in other areas. Now, my question to you is, do you see 2 of those being sold? If so, which 2? And who would you like to see come in? Because for me at right back, I've got player theories for every position, but for right back, I mean, I love Lamptey, but it's been completely pushed out of the window. But other than that, I don't really have someone that I'm holding on to. But the reports are, if you believe the people that kind of get things right with Arsenal, is that we are definitely in the market for a right back this window. But do you think we'll sell 2? If so, which 2? And who would you be looking at?
See, I think looking at everywhere else, I think right back's one that will probably be left to the last minute, or potentially might not get done at all.
Because of the lack of sales, maybe.
I think possibly, but I think Arteta was really impressed, as was me with some games, with how Chambers did when he come in. Chambers as well, if you look at him, very unassuming, very nice. You ain't going to get back chat off Chambers. You ain't going to get issues with Chambers. I don't think Chambers is going to moan that he's not playing.
He'll be happy to be back up.
Exactly. I think he rolls with it. Bellerin, I think, is 100% gone. Lovely guy. Always will, good servant to the club and everything else. But in terms of the level where we want to aspire to be and need to be, he ain't going to get us there anymore. So I think he's definitely gone. Cedric just seems to be happy to be anywhere. And then when you've got the wife that he has, why do you care if you're playing football or not? If you've got to stay at home, there's worse people that you can stay at home with.
He literally doesn't care.
If I was him, I'd be angry that I've been asked to play. I would rather stay in with the wife.
He's in great shape as well, though. So amazing shape, amazing physical shape.
Yes.
And but I think, if we want to get rid of Cedric, I don't think it's going to happen. He's on 65 grand a week. He's aging. The best you might be able to do is loan him to someone, possibly.
Yeah.
But I do have concerns about receiving a fee for Bellerin too. I think a lot of people feel Bellerin is going to be highly sought after. I think it might be I think we'll get rid of him, but I think it might be difficult to get the actual fee that we want for him. And Milan are asking for a loan, and after receiving 70 million for their centre back, they want to loan our centre back and pay in a couple of years because money's a little bit tight at the moment, apparently.
Well, Inter Milan are in absolute dire circumstances, mate. Yeah. But for me, I look at it and I go, right, if they've gone to you, look, we'll do 10 million for a loan this season. And then once the loan's over, we will obligate to buy and pay 15 mil. So we don't get the 25 million up front, which is what we want. We've gone that we want 25 million quid for him up front. I think if you look at it on paper, you go, right, right, is it that big of an issue? I don't think it is. Most
fees are paid in instalments, so I don't really see a difference.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? We pay for Pepe in instalments, and we're this dirty, cheap, dead club. Really. United pay for Sancho in instalments, and it's smart. It's really clever it's brilliant from them to do that. Yeah.
Bought Bukayo Saka's boot cleaner for 80 million.
It's funny how it works, but in terms of
who do you want? Yeah, who do you? Well,
yeah, I think he's going to stay. I think he's probably going. But for me, I would be going to him, and I won't swear because I know that it can affect the older YouTube. But it is, that word will get off the pot time for him. So it's like, do you want to be here? And do you want to play right back? Or, because if not, go.
So are you thinking we don't buy one then?
I think not. I think he looks at it and go. I think he looks at it and goes, because I think he always wanted Maitland-Niles to be it anyway. I think he really liked Maitland-Niles when he come in.
Yeah, so I disagree. I think that ship sailed, to be honest. Okay. And there's two reasons for that. One is where he got loaned to and where he was playing. I mean, there was clubs in for him that were far bigger than West Brom that wanted to play him at white.
But they didn't give his agent
his agent, and also he basically said, "I don't want to play there." And the second thing is, he's come out already before the window's basically even opened and said, "Well, I want to know what's going on with me at Arsenal. I want to know, am I staying? Am I not going?" I'm like, hold on a minute here, mate. We gave you multiple chances at right back. You said you were a winger, central midfielder. Now you want to be in goal. This isn't secondary school football anymore, Ainsley. You know what I mean? I mean, this is just proof of a player with. It's where talent meets attitude, isn't it? Because Ainsley Maitland-Niles got all the talent to be, I think, the first choice right back, to be honest, or right wing back, or all the attributes that you want, everything that you want, to be honest. But mindset, gone. I mean, and that's why he has these dips and moments and completely brain farts moments in games.
He's being featured a lot in all the photos and the promos, which makes me think, I think you're going to...
I'm thinking that's just trying to get him in the shop window. Here he is again, Southampton.
It does work both ways.
Yeah, I don't know. I would bet, let's see where we're right. We're going to listen back to this at some point. I'm going to bet that we get someone in. I'm just not sure it's going to be the kind of level that we are. I mean, we need a first choice right back. That's for sure. Right,
yeah,
all of those players we're talking about. I
was backing this Selic guy from what I saw from Lille, but watching him at the Euros, I'm like,
meltdown.
I'm like, you're terrible. I'm like, I feel so bad. I back this guy.
Yeah,
I'm like, you genuinely look awful.
Yeah.
So
Max Aaron's been very quiet and it's interesting. You're right. There's no real player that I'm saying, this is possible and I want him. So I find it difficult, but that doesn't mean that we don't need someone. For me, I still think we need someone that's more agile than Callum Chambers, can get up and back far more, but isn't. Bellerin lost his athleticism, and that's why I struggle to believe we're going to get the fee. I think anyone that's watched Bellerin over the last 18 months and has their sort of clever hat on must be sitting there going, he is never returning. This is not the same player as the guy that burst past Bayern Munich. And did it at that age when he took over from Debussy. This is a shadow of that player. And it's not going to return. It's just not going to return. So
again, it's another one where, Tyler Adams has been linked.
I like that link, but it sounds like he's...
It goes back to what I said earlier about Onana. If you've got that player there, then don't look elsewhere. Take him.
Get him. Yeah.
Take him.
The issue there is I've
been a fan of that guy since New York Red Bulls, because obviously I dipped into New York Red Bulls when Henry went, and I watched more and more and more, and he impressed me big time.
The issue there apparently is his contract.
They got a good centre mid there at the moment as well, Cáceres. He's another one that in a few years' time, look at him. He's very decent player.
Okay. So the thing I'm hearing about him is contract's pretty difficult to get him out of, and they've got the American coaching that he's very, very close to. So
I think it's the guy that brought him through.
Yeah, so it becomes a bit more questionable. But let's see. Like you, I think it's one we'll do late. nothing's being done early, so let's put it that way. But I think it's one we'll do late. That's the defence done. We think centre-backs coming in.
Have you got any name in your head? Just quick. Right, that was.
Honestly, other than Lamptey was my one last time we spoke.
Oh, yeah.
Signed a new contract with Brighton, got a hamstring injury, was out for the season-ish, and that's kind of gone. I don't, and I know that sounds a bit hypocritical to say we need one, don't have one, but I don't really. There's no one that's sort of flashed out to me. But I just know we lack the attributes in that position, and I think it's vital. It's vital for Pepe and Saka ahead of them. It's vital for us, our centre backs, to feel a little bit more safe and strong. I think it's vital for our production going forward, because he uses fullbacks so they're so key to Arteta, the way Arteta wants to play.
And like I mentioned earlier, it's all left. You get dual. It's too predictable. It's too predictable. Yeah, so centre mid, which is a podcast in itself, but let's try to do it in 10 minutes or so. What we didn't think last time we were on the podcast, I don't think any of us thought that Granit Xhaka was going to be sold. So this, to me, is coming from the player. I presume a year ago when he sat down with Mikel Arteta, he wanted to go to Hertha Berlin. He'd been abused by the fans. He told the fans to do one. They had a terrible relationship there, which has been somewhat, sort of savoured and corrected. And Granit Xhaka himself has had probably his best season at Arsenal. I presume, though, he probably said, I'll give you 12 months. I'll give you another season. But, my goal is to be moving on from this club, because the full connection was never really there. And I think the signs of that was when he got sent off against Burnley. And we all felt, you let us down again here, Granit. And, he refused to say anything, didn't he? He refused to say anything about it. And you just felt there that he was, he's still that never really been kind of sorted out, with the fans, and he wants to move on. Fair enough. I am of the opinion now. Obviously, Dani Ceballos has gone back to Spain. Thankfully, awful season with Arsenal he had, and I was talking quite highly of him after the FA Cup final. Same.
So we're going to get two central midfielders in. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, what, on top of the one that we've potentially already sorted?
So let's talk. Yeah, one more on top. So let's talk the one we've already sorted. So Lokonga from Belgium. Again, I'm not going to act like I didn't know a lot about him until the links came out. Anderlecht, 21-year-old captain, I think, for Anderlecht. I think he was. He was in and around the Belgium squad, but didn't quite make the cut. Which is no shame in that. I mean, Belgium's got a pretty solid squad. Yeah, but I really like this signing. I think it looks really good. He looks profile-wise, good on the ball, has a lot of experience at the top league level in Belgium, which obviously isn't to the level of the Premier League, but for his age is very, very impressive. What's your thoughts on Lokonga, mate?
Yeah, so I've never seen him play. So I'm not going to pretend that I've seen him play. I'm not. That's not how I act.
I haven't even. I just watch clips. Yeah.
No, I haven't even done that. I haven't even done a YouTube scope of him. From everything that I have read, this is a very, very good signing. Company apparently was very influential, telling him to go to Arteta. Craig Bellamy, who's the assistant at Anderlecht as well, said to him, "Go to England, mate. Go to England. You're good enough. Go there. Show what you can do." From how he looks and everything, just statuesque and the age and everything, he fits that profile. And also, I think he is more of that Ceballos-y, flashy type player than what everybody wants us to have, which is like a destroyer that goes next to Partey. So it's that balance. There'll be some games where you probably want your destroyer along with Partey in there to help that. But there's other ones where, I need the progressive ball player, or the one that runs a bit further on and everything else, and can interlink with, like you said, your Lacazette, your Smith Rowe and everything else. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that guy play. From everything that I've read, he sounds like a very exciting, very good young player. So I've got no problems with it at all.
Reportedly had his medical today in Holland. I'm not sure why Holland, but in Holland. And obviously he's not joined back up with the Anderlecht squad. So again, this is a player that you'd assume in the next 10 days post isolation in London, he will be announced. Like it. It's a kind of player we should be going for. Not too big, 17, 18 million fee. Young, up and coming, lots of attributes I think that we lack in the middle. You know, he's like you said, he's not the destroyer, but he still has a lot of those athletic attributes, I think, and he is quite good on the ball. I mean, some of his delivery and his range of passing that I saw, I was quite impressed with it in those clips. So But I'm not convinced that this player, certainly under Mikel Arteta, is coming in to start. I presume, like you, he's a Danny Ceballos replacement, and we're putting that as a third midfielder. So the question now is who, and I think this is one of our biggest outlays alongside the centre-back, is who are we spending the money on to replace Granit Xhaka? And there's two theories here. Well, there's probably more, but there's some links that we've got. Ruben Neves, Basuma, your ideal one, I presume, Sander Berge, Camavinga, Renato Sanchez, a few others I'm sure that I'm missing out. Who do you think we'll get? Who do you want to get?
Who do I want is Basuma.
Not very quiet.
Have done for months. Who do I think? I think it's going to be Ruben Neves.
Yep.
And, you know, that doesn't bother me. I like Ruben Neves. I like him a lot. You know, the set piece coach that we had before wasn't the one that Arteta wanted. He wanted the one from City. He's finally come in. So he's got the new coach that he wanted to begin with. So for me, I'm looking at it going, you bring Ruben Neves in, that's delivery from corners where you've got quite, you know, statuesque guys there.
He's a very good set piece.
That can head the ball. Because our corners have been absolutely terrible for a couple of seasons now. Absolutely terrible. Free kicks as well. You've got penalties, so there's that to him. And I think the fee was 25 mil.
Well, let me just hold you there. So the original fee I looked at was 35, 40 mil when it first broke from the Athletic.
Really? Okay.
Now, I presume, and then it went very quiet, but
yeah.
I'd be much more positive on that kind of fee with you. Do you have any concerns, James, that he was obviously in the Portugal squad? But, you know, in that central midfield, it was the likes of William Carvalho and even Moutinho and people like that coming on and playing. But I don't think he ever featured. Obviously, that doesn't mean anything necessarily. It's down to the manager and things like that.
I can't remember, sadly. I'd love to be able to go.
Yeah, I don't think he featured. And but again, when I watch Neves, I mean, some people are saying, you know, it's no different to Xhaka, and I agree in a certain degree. I think he's a very similar type of player, but I think he offers a lot more from what I see. I think he does.
I think he offers a lot more in terms of goals.
So he gets forward a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think he's slightly more mobile than Xhaka.
I see that, yeah.
Which is a big difference. But for me, and it's really hard because if you look at it, you sign Basuma, I'm over the moon, I'm ecstatic. However, come January, you've got Partey, El Neni, and him gone. So it's like, who's your midfield then? So that makes me think he's going to look at the likes of Neves and go, he ain't going anywhere. And when Partey does leave and El Neni does leave, he's got, you know, lokonga in there, or he's got someone, he might find someone else that can go into that CDM, you know, role next to, or a centre midfield role next to a lokonga or whoever it may be. Yeah, could even be Joe Willock. You know, we hadn't even mentioned him yet.
We're getting there. Well, I put him into the 8-10 bracket. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But very hard to define Joe Willock's position, which may come into the problem.
It's really hard because Basuma is the one that I've got my eye on, and I know you're a big Camavinga fan as well, and that's another one.
Huge Renato Sanchez fan too, by the way.
Yeah, that's another one where I'm like, Camavinga, if he's there, you got to take him, but he ain't what people, you know, he ain't what people want. Yeah, he is the lokonga, but far more advanced.
Yeah, and
he's not got that defensive type of play compared to the others. Renato Sanchez, as much as I would say, yeah, if Basuma doesn't come off, what a signing he'd be. He's going to Liverpool, mate, I think. I think he's already...
The only thing with Renato Sanchez is Liverpool fan. I speak to a lot of Liverpool fans. Is he does have a little bit of a questionable injury record, and that's a concern for Liverpool. But I think, I thought he was fantastic in the Euros, and I'd kind of slept a little bit on Renato Sanchez, maybe because of the Swansea stuff and not watched him much. Yeah. But really good, very very press resistant, and I really want a press resistant central midfielder. I think that's one of the key attributes we want.
Yeah,
I think Basuma has a little bit of that, but if we're to get Basuma, this manager would have to change his philosophy a little bit, because the brain of his team for every minute almost that he could be was Granit Xhaka. He wanted a deep line quarterback style playmaker who gives the ball, and he gets the ball and gives it, and that's why I think someone like Neves makes sense. There was links to Jorginho under this manager, less than 12 months ago. Why was there links? Because Xhaka was going to leave, we thought, and we thought we were going to have to replace him. And I don't think that mindset's changed. I don't think he's gone, we need something completely different here in midfield. I think he's gone, well, we're losing a player I didn't want to lose because I told him we could sell him this summer. We need to replace him with someone that's like him, but maybe with less limitations. And to be honest, I think that's what Ruben Neves is from what I see. I think one of his biggest attributes that's different from Granit Xhaka, from the clips that I watch of him and when I've watched him play, mainly against us, is I think he releases the ball a little bit quicker than Granit Xhaka. And I think that's really important, because I think we are far too slow at progressing the ball, and it's really, really struggling. So although, like you, I would go with your Basuma. There's a couple of signings I'd pick ahead of him. I'd pick Renato Sanchez ahead of him too.
Really?
I really like Renato Sanchez.
No, fair enough. No, I think he's a great player, but I wouldn't pick him over Basuma. But no, maybe not over Basuma, but probably over Ruben Neves. But then Camavinga. I dreamt of Camavinga once I heard the links, but I never believed it. I never believed he was going to take a 28-year-old and a 24-year-old in Tavares and Xhaka out and replace him with a 21-year-old and 18-year-old. He's not going to do it. The thing for me is we're all saying, you want the Sanchez or the Basuma because that unlocks Partey. So with Partey, you're like, right, the table's there, tablecloth's there, plates there. Just get you make the food. And unlike Ruben Neves, don't offer that protection to Partey to do what Partey needs to do.
I'm not sure he does it, to be honest.
So it's like, is Partey going to be more of a dual role type player where he's going to be enforcing as well as progressing? Or is it he stays the same as what he sort of is now and you add Neves to it? I think deep down you need the destroyer. I think Arsenal need the destroyer, but like you went, he has to completely change how he sees things through. And that's why, and also from the outlet in Portugal that I saw the Neves stuff on last night and earlier today, they're saying 25 million.
So maybe it's dropped. And new manager come in and
and I'm like, that's a good price for someone. If you were to say we're going to sign someone that's similar to Xhaka, but gets more goals, is more progressive and more mobile for 25 million quid in Ruben Neves, I think that's silly not to take.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not against the signing. My concern more is how he fits and is this? Yeah. I was more into changing and creating something new from that central midfield, because I felt the limitations from Granit Xhaka, even at his best, were still very, very obvious. But so we're going with probably, our opinion, we're definitely going to sign two, lokonga being 1+1, and we're thinking maybe the interesting thing there is I wondered for a while whether he'd want to replace with a left-footed player. Like when we've had Xhaka, we've had Petit, we've had Edu. There's always been, not always, but lots of times, a central midfielder with a left foot. None of those options are left-footed, as far as I'm aware. Renato Sanchez, no, I don't. Maybe he is. No, I don't think he is.
No,
I'm not sure about Camavinga. I forget now, But yeah, so I think the Neves one is one to keep an eye on for sure. Let's do number 10. So we've got. I don't want to talk too much about the Smith Rowe contract. I'm going to be, for once, optimistic and believe that this club cannot be so stupid as to screw that up. And if we can nail down Balogun with no minutes, we must be nailing down Smith Rowe, who literally had, I mean, he couldn't have been more important to the side in the last 6 months. So I believe the belief is there from the player. He knows he's playing first-team football at Arsenal, which has been his dream for years. I do not believe anyone like those silly Midland club down there going to go and take off Smith Rowe from our club to replace Grealish because they know he's on his way. And Smith, I'll tell you what, have a look at what Grealish was doing when he was Smith Rowe's age. He didn't have any calf muscles, for one, I'll tell you that. And secondly, he wasn't at the level that Smith Rowe is at right now. So that's for sure. So I would assume that's our number 10. And I give him the number 10 shirt to seal the deal personally. The question now is, will we sign someone in this position? Again, secondary, some people have said they think we may not because of the centre-back outlay and too much to do. I actually think, unlike the right-back position, which I'm 50-50 on, I think we'll definitely sign someone here because we brought someone in January in Odegaard. He was absolutely vital when he was fit, and we were so keen to get him back. So I think we'll definitely get someone, even though Odegaard is out the window. Question is, do you believe that? Who do you think it will be, and touch on what you think that may or may not mean for a Joe Willock?
So, first and foremost, you've basically said half of what I wanted to say. Anyway.
Sorry, I do.
No, I don't care. That's fine. That saves me whittling on, because I know I tend to whittle on sometimes. Yeah, I know Lacazette wants that number 10 shirt.
Oh, no. Not do that. No. And for me as well, you buy someone, whoever it is, because this for me, goalkeeper's my main one. If we're going to do priority, I want a goalkeeper more than anything. But we're both very anti-Leno on this podcast, aren't we?
Second to the goalkeeper, this is the next biggest position for me. This is massive stuff. And you go to that person, whoever it is, you know, if we splash on someone who's sensational in this role, I'd still go Smith Rowe's my main one. I go. You have to, and I know Smith Rowe can play wide. However, Martinelli's at the Olympics. I totally understand that. Saka's probably going to get a break because he's been in the Euros, but you can't play Aubameyang out there anymore. You can't. You just can't.
He must have learned that lesson.
Pepe has to start for me. Has to start, and Saka has to start. You know, if he's not going to be given a break, at least if he gets pre-season, you know, I probably don't think we'll see Saka pre-season until that Chelsea or Spurs game for the mental health charity cup thing we're doing.
August 8th-ish or something, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he plays in any of these ones that are coming up. Maybe even the ones that he might play in America because the fans might want to see him. He's a draw, isn't he? He's someone. I think
legally they have to be given like 3 weeks, don't they?
Right. Okay. Because I think
there's like some sort of law there that they're like, they can always call themselves back early, but they have to be the ones to initiate it. I think he needs it. He needs
the American listeners we have will be quite upset with me saying I don't think Saka might play over there because he's a draw. He's an entertainer. He's someone you want to watch. Yeah. So yeah, he probably will play in America. Actually, looking back on it. But yeah, this is difficult in terms of the links.
So you think it's really important? So you think we're going to get someone? The links that we've had so far: Maddison, which I know you loved, Sabitzer,
Steve Maddison,
and Buendia, and Houssam, which is strong this week.
Maddison, I know you don't want to touch him with a barge pole. I know you don't.
I genuinely don't want to touch any English player, which sounds incredibly stupid when we're in the Euro final. More for fee and the fact that I think we're doing quite well in producing English players. So that's my biggest thing.
And despite what we said earlier about Ben White, we're happy.
And we love Ben White.
But it's other English players.
He's the clear exception at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. See, Maddison, for me, I look at him and I'm like, he did a business for Arsenal. I know you can't see it, but...
A little bit injury concerns last year, though.
I think he'd step Arsenal up a bit. Maddison.
I don't not think he's a good player. The concern for me is the fee. Like, I always thought the fee was going to be ludicrous. Leicester aren't mugs, aren't they? Yeah. And my concern is giving that amount of money.
Seeing the 70 to 80 million. Yeah, for a team that's directly.
And they know how to spend it, mate. They know how to spend this. You know, you're going you're going, here you go. What's he going to do with this?
Yeah, they'll
Like
pluck
that, do you know what I
someone.
mean?
They'll pluck someone out of the air. That's
Diamonds. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my concern.
Yeah.
But so you think we'll sign someone?
Mhm.
Who do you think it will be? Our is a really strong link. Was hugely strong. Like we know we're in for him last year.
Yeah.
Now the price is half the price of last year, which makes it really difficult to believe we wouldn't at least be interested there. So do you think anything's changed there?
Of all the links, I think that's the guy that's probably going to happen because of, like you said, some people may not remember Arteta was pushing for him instead of Thomas Partey and had to be convinced otherwise by Edu that, no, you need Partey more than you need. So he clearly likes this player a lot. And I think reading again today, and again, it's all links, it's hard because it's none of it's concrete. Like you said, we don't really know. Again, if he's 20 to 25 million pounds, that's cheap. That's cheap. That's one you look at and you go, for a player of that quality. And again, it's another one of, if you don't, one of these lot that we're in a little
Someone's
bit, we're in this chasing pact, we've got a very, very good advantage in terms of there's no other competitions and everything out.
And we have to take advantage of that.
Yeah. So I think Sabitzer I would take as well, though. If Sabitzer was available, I think he's a tidy player. I like him. But
cheap as well, apparently.
Yeah, but if you've got Aouar instead, you get Aouar, I think.
Well, he's your high technical quality player from what I've seen. Yeah. Very, very comfortable.
I know a lot of people want Grealish. They ain't selling him to us if we ain't going to give them Smith right
there. Again, no, I wouldn't spend it. I mean, I know Grealish is a good player, but do you know what? I don't know how fast Houssama is, but he's really technically gifted. I mean, I'm talking beyond Grealish technically gifted. And one thing with Grealish is the reason he goes down a lot is, he doesn't really have that pace to push past people a lot as much. So he gets fouled a lot, doesn't he? But I also don't think he's a both-way player, really. I think that's why Gareth Southgate doesn't trust him as much, and he keeps bringing him on. Saka is a both. Same as Mason Mount, in fairness, who's a very, very good player. Both-way player, right? Both way. They know they can trust them both ways, and managers like this, I see a lot of Arteta in Southgate, to be honest. They want both-way players, right? And Houssama, I'm not saying that's what he is, but he plays a lot deeper. I wonder if it hints, if we do make this signing, at a change of system to maybe a 4-3-3 over a 4-2-3-1, because most of the stuff that I read about him is he plays in a 3 or sometimes on that left side. So I want, that would be quite interesting to me, right? If we would play him in a 3 with Partey, and that would be really, really interesting. But like you, I think out of all of those deals, that one seems to make the most sense at the moment. It could change next week, obviously. But I think both of us agree that we have to get that position. And I don't think it should be Odegaard coming in didn't limit Smith Rowe. Do you know what I mean? No. So there should be no... And Odegaard apparently was our first choice of anything this season until we decided that Real Madrid were going to finally give him a go. But again, I loved Odegaard, but I wouldn't spend 50 to 60 million on him. I wouldn't do that. I do like the player, but I wouldn't spend it. So I just think one to watch. So what do we think for Willock? I personally think, and I know I was going to give you the answer, I think Willock is our most sellable asset this window. That's what 100%, I think.
100%.
Therefore, and I know Mike is going to hate this one because he's a bit of he wants Willock back, I think. But I think we have to sell him if a bid above 25 million comes in. That's my opinion.
Oh, good. 100%.
Yeah.
Because when are you ever going to get that money again?
Not going to happen. I mean, there's a chance he has a great season. I don't think he will.
If we keep
to the
him,
level.
If we're going off what we're saying, if we keep him, right, you got to remember, our competitions are limited compared to what they were before. He got a lot of minutes in the Europa because we played weakened opposition per se. Now, he done the business against top clubs in the Prem for Newcastle. Would he get those chances at Arsenal? I don't think so. Maybe he might have changed the mind now, and he might. However, I'm with you. I think you've got a club there that potentially have a player that you also want in a swap in Woodman, potentially. Their fans, they can't really abide their manager. They can't stand their owner, but they love the player. That would give them a little bit more, that gives them a little bit more boost of credibility if they bring that player in. And I think the player would also go, I'll go back there.
He's used to playing every week now.
Well, there's that, and also I've been out a few times in Newcastle.
Yeah, I've been up to their stadium a few times as well.
Yeah. And they are football mad. The North East is football mad. Even Sunderland, Borough, all of it. Yeah. And I'm like, when they love you forever. And I'm like, he could cement himself there as a top guy that they could hold him in high regard for a very, very long time. But I'm interested to see what we do. I really am, because he's another one that, we're talking about the African Cup of Nations. If he stays, he's another one. Can you play him and Neves together?
I don't think there's even with Newcastle, which play 70-80% of the game without the ball. So it's a different scenario. Joe Willock's basically playing as a second forward for them, and that's why he's getting in the box all the time. He wouldn't be given that license. And the issue I have with Joe Willock more than anything is I don't believe he's got the technical quality to play in a two. I don't think he has it. He is great at getting into the box and scoring goals, and that's something we do massively lack. But in terms of being a possession-based team and things like, I don't see it. I don't think he's got it. No. So no. I've never really felt he was going to be a player that makes it at Arsenal. It doesn't mean to say he won't make it somewhere else, but I think we'd be silly not to listen to offers. And I don't think Newcastle would be the only offer. I think we talk about our players and people not wanting them. Look how hard it's been to get rid of Guendouzi and Mavropanos gone for 5 million or something. He will have people that want him. He's English. He's just scored 7 in 7. He's young. He is a sellable asset, and that is a success. Look at Iwobi. It's a success if you sell a player for that price, I think. That's played 40 or 50 times for Arsenal and never really convinced us. Now, maybe he's made a adaptation and changed, but I think you've got to run. You've got to sell somewhere, and I think this is a sellable asset. Like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I think these are sellable assets.
Yeah, I think he gets a shot next week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we'll and possibly in America as well, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, he'll play pre-season.
No, I 100% agree with you. Is he the player that I would sell the most out of all of them? No. Willian is the one I would get rid of the most first. Of course, yeah. And then Leno after Willian. But if you're talking to me about which one can we sell and actually do the business on, him every day of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. And you believe
there's two others that I'm like, any club in the world will want to buy them, but I ain't selling them.
Yeah.
You want Smith Rowe or Saka? You jog on.
Those are the ones. And I think Smith Rowe's signing. I think it's announced.
So
it might take 2 or 3 weeks to be announced, but he's signing. I think he's signing, and we're gonna stick with that.
You summed it up brilliantly earlier, man. If you can convince Balogun, who's played nothing, to do, And
in fairness to Mikel, he has this knack of convincing players that you like. Look at, we were in this situation with Saka last year. Mm-hmm. Imagine that now. Imagine us sitting here now. And there was a real tensive period where we were like, oh, I don't know if this is going to happen. But he somehow, even when the team is not doing very well, he's able to convince people that we're quite highly regarded to say Martinelli got a new contract, Balogun new contract, Saka, and I think Smith Rowe will be the next one. So that's credit to him. Strikers and forwards, I think this will be where the least activity happens. Yeah. Do you think Willian will leave? Yes or no?
I don't see who pays it, mate.
What if we do an Ozil-like thing?
I don't think they can do it again.
No? Gosh, we might be able to do something, James.
We keep saying about how they're making themselves look stupid.
They're great at it, aren't they?
I know, but I'm like, you're adding more and more and more. I don't see what club. I thought the Miami one was perfect, But then when he demanded more than what Higuain earns and all that,
yeah, he's a moron.
Like, no, but you know what?
Again, I say, what is the issue with us doing? Saying, hey, you know what? We'll pay half his wages. You pay the other half. He's off the books. We're saving $100,000 a week. There you go. I know.
Yeah, but he'll be like that Winston Bogarde, mate. When he was at Chelsea, he'll just go, I'll sit this out. Yeah. I don't care.
I think that's the biggest problem. He's settled in London. He's got his restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only push there might be getting Luis out. Do you know what I mean? He's got no real friends at Arsenal anymore, but I don't think he'll care. So he doesn't care. He flies to Dubai in a pandemic, doesn't he? He doesn't care. But Balogun, will we loan him or will we keep him?
Keeping him.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
So there's the question then.
Eddie's gonna go.
Eddie's gonna go. Are you gonna cry?
I know I was the president of the Eddie Nketiah fan club, but yeah. The ship has sailed. He's going to leave.
I'm quite encouraged by the fees being talked about with 1 year left. 12 million isn't bad outlay for because we screwed it up a little bit. We should have done this 6 months ago minimum.
Yeah.
So I agree, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's not been playing. So it doesn't necessarily mean anyone comes in. Lacazette, the most likely scenario, would you say, is him either seeing out his contract or being offered an extension?
I think he gets another year.
Does he sign for another year?
I think he already has, but they've just not announced it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one thing we're there would be to say to him, look, Alex, no one's paying you $175,000 a week, even when you're on a free, mate. So you might want to sign another year here and get the big money for another year. He's massively influential amongst the group.
Just about to say that, you've lost two big characters.
Yes.
And he's out of the. If you were to say to me, James, who's the three biggest influences in that dressing room from last year, I would go Luis number one, Xhaka two, Lacazette third. They're both gone. So Lacazette's number one now. He's numero uno, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm 50-50 on Balogun. I don't know whether he's going to be loaned or not. I'm 50-50 on it.
I think it's silly.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I'm just trying to see where. I mean, obviously cups, right? FA Cups, and if one of Laka or Orba's injured, and Orba's going to the African Cup of Nations, is he? Yeah. So then obviously, there's game time there for him probably, and then
Eddie got these minutes, there'll be Balogun's minutes now, which is what people wanted in the first.
But
place.
A lot of Eddie's were a bit domestic cups, but a lot of them were Europa group stage, which we don't have anymore. But that's my theory there. So I agree with you. I think all the links to the strikers are absolutely pointless at this point. I don't believe in any of them because unless something big happens with Laka or Aubameyang, which I don't think is going to happen, I don't think we touch it. I think it's just trying to remove Willian and Eddie, basically.
Would you like one?
Well, I would, because I think one of the biggest issues we've got this season, once everything's done and dusted, all the ins, all the outs, is I still don't believe Aubameyang is the type of striker Mikel Arteta wants. And I don't believe there's been enough points to look at and say, yes, he is. Look at him here. 1 or 2 games, Leeds at home. He's got
a year, mate, and it's like you come out swinging, or in the January. Yeah, we're telling you.
Well, I think that's another reason Lacazette stays. I think Arteta is looking at this, going, I'm not sure what I'm going to get. There's always the relationship is already on rocky with the turning up late. To drop your captain like that is a big thing, right? So then you're saying, well, okay, I'm gonna play your centre forward, but if you start playing like you were last season, Lacazette's there and he's coming in for you. He's already, let's be honest, proven to me that the team works and plays better when Lacazette's the pivot point.
100%.
We know we need a younger, fitter, faster, more agile model than Lacazette, but this isn't the time for it. It's just not the time for it. We got too much to do. We've already discussed. Yeah. So it will be really. I have my biggest concerns. The things that I don't think are going to happen is at the both ends of the pitch, biscuit hands and old Lamborghini. You know what I mean? Like that. That's my concerns, right? Aubameyang, and it's not as much with Aubameyang, a little bit, but it's more with how is Arteta? How is he making him the focal point? How is he making it work? The way he did it, and it worked, was having a lot of creators around him, right? Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Saka, boom, around him, and everyone feeding, running off. And that's what he's got. I presume that's what he's going to look to do again. The issue comes in there where I think Pepe is going to have to play here. So
it's really difficult because, obviously first game's Brentford, And obviously, you know, doing a predicted lineup now, anything could happen and it's silly. But in your head, you're like, well, it's Saka, Pepe, Aubameyang, isn't it? But like you said, Lacazette works better. Because I'm like, you can't play Aubameyang out wide anymore. And that's what he always said was his best position.
I know.
Not
unless he switches back to a back three, but he's just not got the legs anymore.
He's not that guy.
Do you know what? If he gives Lacazette a new contract, because we always said Aubameyang's playing centre forward, even if it was because we've given him the big contract. But if he gives him even an extension, they're on the same contract in the sense of time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then it becomes a very, who is your ideal person here for this year? And I think you start to question it. The hope is Aubameyang comes back to what he was. The concern is we've not seen it under this manager, not in this position, not in the centre forward position. No. And that, I think that's quite a big concern going into this season because, Aubameyang is going to start centre forward. So
he has to.
The
outlay was too big to throw it away.
Yep, I agree.
You know, I know we keep saying they're brilliant at making themselves look stupid.
Well, talking on that, when you're that good at making yourself look stupid, why not film it? Why not film it? So we are the next all or nothing, or as I like to say, all or something, because we get the Conference League, we could call it that. But when, why not show the circus? So we're filming it. Are you, some fans are completely, uproar about this. They think it's a calamity waiting to happen. Don't film this sort of stuff. You shouldn't do it. I'm slightly surprised Arteta has approved it. And I presume he's had maybe he hasn't had a say in it. I don't know, but we're earning about 10 million for it. So that should be the Onana fee sorted out. And, but what's your thoughts on it? Just quickly.
I'm in two minds about this.
A little bit, yeah.
First and foremost, I absolutely love football documentaries. Ever since I was young, I've always liked them. I've always found, that side of football fascinating. Over the lockdown, I've watched pretty much all of them, except for them lot up the roads one, because I'm not really interested.
What's the best one?
See, I really enjoyed the Man City one.
I've not watched that one.
I've watched Leeds. I've watched the first series of the Leeds one.
They did an all or nothing, did they?
Yeah. They did one on the first year Bielsa was there.
Brilliant.
And they didn't go up, and then they did 2 episodes on the second season. So I've literally finished the first series where they didn't go up, and I'm just about to watch the second, and that was brilliant. I really enjoyed the Leeds one, and I sort of like the Sunderland one, because the Sunderland one, they had the guy come in the second series, the new owner.
Yeah, I've seen the Sunderland one.
And he had the guy underneath him that I was like...
David Brent, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, you are lit. Yeah. Where he's like, I used to be a DJ and, oh, yeah. I'm just like...
It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Like the biggest nerd trying to act like, oh, hi, I'm hip, I'm cool. Hi, young people. Like, I was just like, mate, you're an absolute...
Yeah.
Nerd. Like, what are you? But you got to a stage, like you said, like David Brent, you did feel for it. You wanted him to do well, even though he's a dick. If that makes sense.
It went completely.
You sort of warmed to him near the end, because you're just like, oh, you are an absolute imbecile, but you're harmless, but you're just an idiot. Like,
yeah. It's going to be a bit interesting, but it'll be something to look forward to once the season's been an absolute
drop. Like, of course I want to watch one about my own team, and they're so well shot and well done. But for me, I'm like, you talked about how you were so happy there's no distractions, and I'm like, now you're giving full access all areas documentary.
I know.
I'm like, that is a distraction. That's where I'm in the two minds about it.
Yeah, but we'll be using it as an excuse on week.
They made one about the Rams, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
So there's the relationship.
There's a link, yeah.
And I'm like, this is going to be a propaganda. That's another thing. It's a propaganda piece for them. They're going to show, like, Josh or whoever on the phone on the deadline day it's like, look how much he cares and how busy he is. He's going to have maybe two phones, a bit like Malcolm Tucker, Thick of It style, if you ever watched that.
Yeah, because it starts in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So you're going to see all the transfer window stuff and everything, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated. I do. I love football documentary. I love documentaries in general. I would rather watch a documentary over mainly other stuff. Yeah. So
yeah. Well,
I'm slightly biased, but I hope and pray, because they normally have fans in it. I'm not praying that I'm in there. But
let's get down to one of those open training sessions.
But there's fans that I don't want involved in there. So
that's a real problem. That's the first thing I thought of. But
they've already got too big of a platform for me.
He's on the phone right now, though, isn't he? He's going, hey, you need someone. I'll be in there holding Tavares' dog, whatever you need.
Because it's club affiliated, and the clubs distance themselves way more from them than they ever have in the past.
They cannot go down that route.
I don't think they're going to be involved. So fingers crossed.
Then it'll be a real problem. Last thing, because we're going to plan doing these once every 10 days as the transfers progress. We didn't start it because literally nothing happened. So I was like, when are we going to start back? I don't want to start back when nothing's happening. Feels like things are starting to move. There's nothing concrete, but we've given you our...
Plus, this is more cheerful. As the season got more miserable, we didn't want to come on and do
it's much more cheerful during the summer window, this podcast, generally.
I didn't want to be waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning when we've lost every week. They weren't for me.
I know. It was really...
Plus, I still haven't got the curtains.
Yeah, there you go.
My eyes would have melted by then.
England, prediction for the score. Will Saka start? Go ahead.
I think we're going to play the 5, so I don't think he starts, sadly. I want to go for it. I think we haven't been in a final, like you said, for 55 years. Trying not to swear, but, have a go. Have a go.
Yeah.
We've got to the final.
Southgate's gonna sit back, though, isn't he?
It's coming home. But if we did, I would rather lose valiantly. Like, let's lose and have a go. You got to a final. You've already achieved getting to a final.
So your score? What's your score?
I'm going to go England 2-1.
England 2-1. I'm going to say we win on penalties.
2-1.
I think it'll be a
penalty win.
It'll be a for Southgate. You got to think about it. I mean, you got to think about the full circle right there. Southgate.
I think if it's not done within the 90 minutes. Ain't happening.
Well, do you know what? I disagree there. The reason I disagree is when I watch Italy and England, I think there's a lot of positions that like central midfield, for example, that Italy are far superior to us. I mean, it's worrying when you look at their quality in there against Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips, with all due respect. But what I do think we have is I think we have a better squad. So I think if we're still in the game where it's like 60 or 70 minutes and it's like 0-0 or something, I think we'll take them because we've got Grealish, Foden, maybe even Saka just sitting on the bench waiting to come on and tear things up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that Rashford. We've got a lot of options from the bench, and I've watched them quite a lot. I'm not sure they've got that. Obviously, Locatelli's sitting on the bench for them, but not quite the same. Like, they don't have the attacking firepower from the bench that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Belotti fan, but he looks like he had a bit of a... He liked his carbs a bit too much before the tournament again. Berardi always used to get praised a lot because he was really good on Pro Evo, but he ain't cut the mustard really.
It's outdated Pro Evo. It's coming back now a little bit. So okay, I'll go 1-1 and win on pens, and I'll say Saka. I'm going to hope that Saka starts. It'd be a huge thing if he starts. Amazing if he starts. So I'm going to say he starts, and my only hope for it is obviously England to win, and Kane not to score. To be honest, but anyone but him. But I'll take it either way. I mean, it's England, so it's fine. It would be quite funny if Kane's first trophy is not for Tottenham. To be honest, so that would be even more funny. To be honest, but Sterling's been fantastic player of the tournament for England at the very least. Italy obviously have a few options there. Chiesa's been very good, and their fullback who got Achilles rupture was very good.
Yeah,
and Verratti's come back really good though against Spain. He was a bit off, wasn't he? But yes, I mean, there's been some good players. So it's been a great tournament as well. So it's been very exciting. Great to not watch Arsenal or be invested too heavily in anything. But now, of course, I'm die-hard England fan as much as I ever have been. So going to win it, and it's coming home. James, it's been good. We're going to focus in as we make a couple of transfers. I'm convinced within the next 10 days, 2 will be announced. I think you are too. We'll come back in. We'll discuss them. Discuss the Scottish part of our tour and see how we're doing in pre-season and evaluate that. Pay the 30 quid online fee to watch pre-season games through a laptop. They're a joke, aren't they? 10 million from Amazon and they can't let us watch free pre-season games. I mean,
got to supplement that non-Europe income somehow, mate.
Unbelievable. You wait, it's just the start of it, isn't it? It's just
I'm looking at it going, right, Rangers playing blue, so that third kit we ain't going to be wearing in that game. It's the Hibs. And the new home shirts.
Home kit's released on the 13th. I'm not giving any money to the club. New home shirts out.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, you got to do. I always buy the shirts.
You watch October, November. There's going to be a new retro drop as well.
Yeah, retro drop in October.
That's going to get me in.
Pride one in December. But it's all there for Elves back. Hello again, Arsenal. All that stuff. All right, mate, it's been a good chat. Thank you for listening, tuning in. Find us at Purely Arsenal on YouTube. We've got a link that we send out, a YouTube link. You can see our faces, or you can listen on all of your podcast apps, iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud and all that sort of stuff. I think we're on everything, thanks to Anthony. Miss you, Mike. Miss you, Neil. Happy birthday. We'll be back in 10 days or so. Thank you very much. Let's stop recording. How do we do that?